Can I borrow your towel? My car just hit a water buffalo. So you can't see it, it's just off camera here, but I designed and built a robot that is an AI robot that is designed to conquer the YouTube algorithm, which will then turn me into a YouTube darling and superstar. So I'm just waiting for the money to roll in, people, just waiting to roll in. I did run into someone who, hang on there, I did run into someone who thought I made my living from YouTube. When I tell you this, and it's something I've told you many times before, that YouTube, my Shifter site, my Discord channel, my subsequent upcoming newsletter, yes, you might think I'm joking, I'm not. There's a plan, there's an action, things are happening. When that arrives, that whole combination of those things is maybe 5% of my life. I don't make my living from YouTube. I will never make my living from YouTube. I love my site. The Discord channel is interesting because there's no advertising. It's just people wanting to talk about photography. And this upcoming newsletter is a challenge. It's a real challenge. And I'm working with someone. We're going to work in partnership to do the newsletter. And it's a challenge, but it's also a way for me to prove a point about something that I've been trying to make for a long time about newsletters and selling books, selling photography books in particular. So that's the end run, the end game for me. It's not a personal thing. It's about proving a point, which I think is interesting. And that could be significant for a lot of people because the traditional channels of working as a creative many of them died a decade ago, but some of them are still kind of limping along. And I think the people who will really take over as creatives are the ones who have successfully built their own ecosystem that's impervious to shifts in technology and shifts in platform. So you don't need Instagram, you don't need Facebook, you don't need Substack, you don't need Medium, you don't need Clubhouse, you don't need any of these things that will continually change and force you to jump from app to app and then force you to try to conquer the newer, smarter, more ruthless, more cruel algorithms. I don't see that as a sustainable path for anyone moving forward. I think AI is going to make that, assure that 100%. So this film is actually about note-taking. And I think for some people, this is a bizarre topic. When I told a couple of other people that I was going to make a film about how I take notes, they kind of cocked their head at me and were kind of baffled and said, why is that interesting, or why would people want to know? But I think at the core of this is journaling. And journals and notebooks are confusing to a lot of people. They're stressful to certain people. And I want to start this film by reading a quote. This is from a comment that showed up on my Shifter site from someone named Neil. Neil wrote this. I posted something about someone who was a keeper of a notebook, and Neil wrote this. And I think this is incredibly poignant for what we're about to go over. So this is from Neil. Quote, "I'm afraid of journaling. I'm afraid it might not work out. I'm afraid I'll not complete it. I'm afraid it's no good. I'm afraid I'll ignore it. I'm afraid I'll look back on it with contempt. I'm afraid I won't know what to put in it. I'm afraid I'll copy others. I'm afraid of failure. I'm afraid of doing it for the sake and it won't be true. Journaling is frightening." That is incredibly well put. And if I had to summarize sort of an undercurrent that I have experienced running into people all over the world that ask me about journaling and note-taking and building books, is that fear. And I think we've talked about this a little bit in the past. I don't journal, I don't take notes, I don't make notebooks for you, I make them for me. And so much of what we do now in the creative world is performance art. YouTube is performance art. Instagram, for sure, TikTok, Facebook. These are performance art platforms for people who've created basically phony facades about what their life is like. If you want to do that, go ahead. If you want to create a fabricated narrative about how amazing your life is, go ahead and do that. It doesn't impact what I think a notebook can do and should do for you. The notebook is your place, your zone. It's not for anyone else. It's one of the places that you can actually be honest. If you're honest on YouTube, you will never make it. You will never be a superstar if you're honest. Same with Instagram, same with Facebook. It's just not what those platforms are about. But the journal is yours. Now, journaling and note-taking, slightly different. And this film is primarily about note-taking, but I happen to take my notes in my notebook. Everything is blended together. And there is no perfect system. I am one person, I'm one guy with one opinion. You might look at what I'm doing and say that's interesting, or you might say I would never do that. But there's something else that needs to be said before we get to the glorious top-down view of what I'm going to show you, which is nothing spectacular, by the way. But here's something I noticed, something that has tainted, and I love using the word taint, just like I like using the word gooch. Gooch and taint are interchangeable, and if you don't know what they are, look them up, because this is your lucky day. I just introduced you to something fantastic. There is a subset, the journaling industry and world is sizable. I think it's bigger than it's larger than photography. I think journaling and notebooks and writing is a larger community than photography. But there's a subset of person on YouTube that teaches people how to take notes on an iPad. And a couple of people have sent me the clips to these films. And by the way, I'm too busy to if you send me a link to YouTube, most often I just delete it because I don't have time to go through YouTube films in the middle of the day. That's not happening. But a couple of these I took a quick look at. This goes back a ways now. No one sent me one of these recently, but in the past they sent me these. And there are people who teach people how to take notes on an iPad. And what they're doing is they're crafting these unbelievably beautiful artistic pages as if they were in a classroom taking notes in real time and capable of making those kind of things. That to me is not note-taking. That is a facade to get you to follow along, to create pages like that because they want to increase their following on YouTube. I don't know a single person in the academic world, a single person in the science world, a single person who is moving as fast as you need to move that is capable of turning a page of notes into basically an art piece. Again, the pages are beautiful. Like if you're covering the boiling point of water, they will 3D draw a molecule of water with like colored three-dimensional arrows and block letters, and you don't take notes that way. You can craft an art piece after doing that, but that to me, again, that is creating a facade that puts pressure on people to believe that that's what your notes are supposed to look like. Again, I know a fair number of people in the art world. I know a fair number of people in science. I know people in technology. I know people in finance, and I've seen their notebooks that they keep. I was with someone last week who's kind of an engineer and a designer, and I saw his notebooks. No one takes notes like that. That is a YouTube phenomenon creation. And if my advice is to not watch those, because I think it puts unrealistic pressure on you to create some sort of masterpiece from your notes. And that's not really what note-taking is about. What I love about someone asking me to make this film is that note-taking is about education. It's about learning. It means that you're curious and you're reading things about things that you don't already know. And you're taking notes because the primary responsibility with this is to educate and to make yourself a better person, which is what I love about this. So don't worry about watching those things. You're going to see in 2 seconds, my notes are far from artwork. That is not why I take notes. I do not have time to create those kind of masterpieces. I'm reading early and I'm taking notes, and that's it. And my hope is that I can remember as much as possible on the scene. So, having said that, let's have a little look-see at Uncle Dano's notes. Oh, I cannot believe how fast time is going by. This is kind of maddening here. Okay, again, one person, one opinion. This is just how I feel. If you are someone who is thinking you are going to access these notes in the future, and you want these accessible no matter where you are, at what time, on any device, then really forget about all this and just focus on this. Obviously, it doesn't need to be an iPad. If you're going to use an iPad, it doesn't matter what iPad it is. It doesn't matter what apps you're using. It doesn't matter the case. It doesn't matter what bag you carry it in. It is what matters is that you use this to take notes and you learn from it. So this is an iPad Pro. I use Notability. I don't know if Notability is good or bad. I don't know what else is out there. Whatever it is that allows you to take notes. But this is probably the most intelligent thing if you're going to access your work throughout the year. The problem for me, and the reason I don't use this as much as I used to, is that most of the reading and the note-taking I do takes place very early in the morning, oftentimes before many of you are awake. I get up early, it's a big part of my life. I do a lot of reading in the morning, and the last thing I am ever gonna do is get up and get on a screen. I think it is one of the most destructive things that you can do to yourself. I think it has ruined a lot of great photographers. I think it's ruined a lot of great people. And it has done so much damage to us as a species. I don't want to be a part of it. So basically, if I use this for notes, I will transcribe later in the day what I have made in here, and I will add it over if I think it's important. If it's not that important, I just leave it be in here and I forget about this. So this for me is pretty much out. So what are we left with? My little chickadees. So these are my journals. These are two from Albania. I think you've seen these before. These are a combination of photographs and writing. This is the kind of stuff that these books, this is what they look like, you know. It's fun, whatever. And interspersed throughout here are my notes. I don't differentiate. I don't have a notebook that is just for notes and another notebook that's for photographs or what I'm doing in the field. Everything is mixed and matched. And if you saw that film that I posted on my site a couple of days ago about Red Hong Yi, I think her perspective about journaling was healthy, which was the journal is really meant to be destroyed. It's not a precious object. It's meant to be, what I would say, not necessarily destroyed, but I would say it's meant to be used. This is, again, this is not performance art. I'm not making this to make you feel something about me. I'm making this for me. It has nothing to do with you. This is a Baron Fig journal. Those first two were blurb notebooks. So Baron Fig, again, it does not matter what journal you're using. It does not matter what pens you're using. It doesn't matter what shoes you're wearing while you're writing in your journal. These are all YouTube sensations that make people believe that they have to look and sound and act in a certain way to do this. Again, this is not performance art. So I use Baron Fig. I accidentally bought 9 of these. So I'm gonna have these for a while. These are gonna be around for quite some time. And I probably have the next, 20 years of my life in journaling paid for and ready to go. So I wanna show you something, but before we get into the book, this is a highlighter. Let me find something here. Hold the phone, Chuck. Why don't we mix the tuna and the mayonnaise in the can? Call Starkist. Bill Blazejowski, one of the best characters ever. Okay, this is a page of my notes. This, as you can see pretty clearly, is not very sexy. This is not built for a YouTube audience. This is not built for an iPad. This is not built for you to think I'm an artist, because you know what? I'm not. See these little gray patches right here? That means a new day has been spawned. So for me, let me see here. Let me go back here. Where was I, damn it? Here we go, page of notes. I use a highlighter to separate the days so I can flip through and see where I am in the calendar. It doesn't matter what color it is. It doesn't matter what brand it is. It's just a highlighter. I have many, as you can see here. When I'm writing in this notebook, I tend to use a Baron Fig pen. This is a hexagonal square pen, which I love. It's expensive, but because I use this all day, every day, I probably use it as much as I use my computer. I use it way more than my camera. It is important to me, and it's hexagonal, so when you put it on a table, it doesn't roll, and it doesn't fall off and hit the end and ruin the ink cartridge. So I like this pen a lot. It lays down a beautiful ink. Let's see what else. Okay, let me grab one more thing that I forgot to grab. I forgot to grab it, but now I've got it. I've got it here for you. I also have a field notes notebook, and this, I use this pen, which is a, I forget, What is this? Uniball Jetstream. Have I ever mentioned a Uniball Jetstream? No, probably not. But anyway, love these pens, super inexpensive, great pen, and I pair it with that notebook. There's some reasons for that. I like how fine point it is. A lot of other reasons, doesn't matter. So those are the two pens I use. This is what I write over images with. And this, as you will see in a second, right here, this is how I color code my notes. Again, I think I was in elementary school when these things came out. This was like Bigfoot. This was as cool as Bigfoot or the $6 Million Man. This was great. Anyway, and I use these too. And these are coded for a reason in the book. Okay, so typical let me move this. Damn it. Let me move this. All right, should I zoom in a little bit? Yeah, let me zoom in. No, hang on. Nope, hold the phone, hang on. Here we go. Oh, look at that. Uncle Dano brings you top-notch production value here. Wow, my watch is blowing up. Okay, page of notes. As you can see, my handwriting is horrific. I can read it, most people can't. I've been asked what language I write in. And when I say English, people say, no way, let me see it. I can't believe that's English. Yeah, it's that bad. And as you can see, it's vertical here and it's horizontal here. I do that a lot, but here's why. As you can see, I'm just listing things here. This is Nevada, Rhyolite Ridge. This is talking about population versus energy numbers in the US. US 5% of world population, they use 17% of energy. China's 18% of the world population, they use 25. I find this interesting. Anthropocene, how much of emissions comes from transportation. But you see these little lines here? You see these little lines over here? For whatever reason, as a kid, when I looked at a textbook, let's say a school textbook, I could remember the design of the page. I could remember in detail, based originally on the design of the page. And when, like I was asked a question on a test, I could see the page design, I could see the photographs, and then I could see every word on that page based on the overall design. So this to me means something. The way that this is designed with these little black arrows with a red filler on the inside and these lines and these arrows, and the same for this with these little red arrows and these numbers, which are all the different metals, lithium, nickel, cobalt, graphite, and copper in a typical Tesla Model 3. Indonesia, Congo, China, I can remember the page based on the design. And these blue marks are part of it. So the blue marks inside the notebook are based for book. So every time if I'm flipping fast through a journal, every time I see blue marks, I know that that section of the book is notes based on a book. Green signifies something else, orange signifies something else, yellow something else, and green something else. Purple too sometimes. Purple is typically medical stuff, which thankfully I don't use a whole lot. Now that my Lyme disease is over. 5 years ago, this whole book would have been purple. And now it's just not, which is a good thing. All right, let me zoom back out. I feel like I'm too tight in here, people. So that is how I take notes. And the goal, again, for me, the only goal is to remember this stuff. This stuff, I feel like when I'm out in the world, I'm having conversations and we're talking. I mean, when I go out in the world, it's very rare that I end up talking about photography. I hang out with a lot of people and we talk about a lot of different things, but photography is typically not one of them. I spend enough time during my job to talk about photography. There's a lot of other topics and things that I'm interested in that are more interesting to me than modern, especially modern professional photography. I do love photography, but the industry is not something I'm particularly keen on talking about anymore. So that's how I use these books. I don't know if that's helpful. I wouldn't say that that's necessarily the best system. Again, if you're looking to try to utilize these things outside of your physical book, you're going to have trouble. It's going to be difficult. But let me just remind you of one thing before we end this. I could do something like this, and then I could do like stop motion and do this, but I'm not gonna. Remember, there is no perfect system. I think back to the quote I read you from Neil at the beginning. That is so critically important. And the advice that I gave to Neil was to not only just start, but I said, give yourself 5 minutes and write a fictional narrative. Write whatever pops into your head, regardless of how different or difficult it is, just do it, just write. And I think if you do that, if you consistently do this, if you take notes or you write in a book like this for 2 weeks, you will never stop for the rest of your life. It has been one of the single most important things I have ever done in my life, was to start doing this daily in 1993. So that's it. I guess I will pop back to me on camera. Man, I had to pull some images earlier for Blurb. I just wrote 4 blog posts in the last, I don't know, couple days. And they have to go through revision, then they go to design, they go to copy editing, they go through all that. And I pulled a picture from New Mexico, didn't work with the design, so they asked me some more. And I just was like randomly going through my archive looking for imagery. And I found some double exposures from last year in Peru. And I'm busy and I travel a lot and I have a lot of different things going on. So oftentimes, 30 years ago, if I had gone to Peru and made pictures, those pictures would have kind of haunted me for a long time. I would have been thinking about those pictures, nonstop for a while. And I don't do that anymore because I got to keep moving. So I hadn't looked, I'd edited this work, and it's actually edited into a folder on my phone, which is where I found the images. And I was looking at those images and I was like, man, these look really good. And they were double exposures on a Fuji X100 V. And I was like, man, these look good. And I sent 4 pics. And the person who does our blog was like, wow, these look really good. And it's ironic because I bought X100 6 yesterday. I don't have it yet, but I ordered it yesterday. And I'm looking forward to it. My back and neck especially look forward to it because it's so light. You Nikon lovers out there, don't fret. I'm still using the Nikon on a daily basis. That's what I carry around, but it will always be a combination of the 2 systems. Normally I have it set up in here, but the cameras, all the cameras I have are getting used on a weekly basis for sure. But it was kind of fun looking at that stuff from Peru and thinking, man, would I love to go back to Peru. The other thing I thought about was if I could ever learn to draw and sketch really well with one of these, I don't know if I would ever take a camera. I think most of the time I would travel without a camera because I look at some of the folks who can sketch and draw. I have friends, painters and artists who can do that, and it just blows me away. I've never really had that ability. It's something that I would have to start at ground zero and just grind over how to get good at that. My art experience in college was absolutely horrifyingly embarrassing because I sucked so bad at art that it was like a stain on my soul for a long time. But I'm experimenting. I'm playing around. I think there's going to be some interesting little developments. I have a little piece of paper that's just off of my keyboard in my office, and there's 3 words on it, each representing something that is just outside my capability right now. And the second word on that list is art. And at some point, before my bloated body washes up in some canal in some backwater somewhere, I will learn how to sketch, damn it. Okay, see ya. So, I'm out at the end of the day here. Well, the end of the daylight, I should say. And sunset, classic New Mexico. You know when I'm happiest? I'm happiest when I have this on. And I'm happiest when I'm in a sleeping bag. Yeah, I thought about that the other night. I was like, I go out on the patio, it was 17 degrees, and I was like, if my sleeping bag is worth it, it should work, and it did. I love being outside. I'm feeling incredibly restless at the moment. Like there's something, I'm looking up towards the mountains and they're covered in snow clouds, and it kind of looks a little bit like Machu Picchu. And I'm kind of feeling like for the first time in a long time, I think there's some dots connecting on the board, potential dots I've never connected before. And that could be really fun. I just realized I'm not using the DJI mic. I'm just using the built-in mics. Hopefully this works. I hate to have to record it. Nice snowy evening here.